Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 21 of Get Bucked. I'm your host, Ryan, and of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Jackson. Jackson, how are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Ready to talk some Pegasus. Should be fun.
That's
fun
right.
week.
That's right. We got the Pegasus World Cup card coming up. We are going to be going through the late pick 5, all graded stakes, late pick 5, some excellent races. And we have somebody joining us again. It's our good friend and awesome handicapper, Andy Serling. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm good. Good. Thanks for having me on, guys. Good to see you.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Hope you're staying warm up in New York.
I was out today. It was a little chilly, but it's fine.
I was complaining about it being 60 today, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay. I was too. I'm down in San Diego with a jacket on, so.
I'm going to Florida weekend. It's going to be chilly. I think Friday, right? It's not that warm, is it? Whatever.
It's looking cold down in Florida. They are likely off the turf all week until Saturday, but hopefully Saturday brings some good weather and obviously some great races. As we have 13 of them going on Saturday. We'll only be talking about the late pick 5. Andy, obviously, before we get into the picks, what were your kind of thoughts on the overall sequence?
I thought that they did a good job putting together a good card, big fields. I mean, there's obviously some pretty logical horses that, I mean, it's hard to be wildly against in the sequence, but I thought the races came up good. I thought the whole day, good cards. Even the synthetic races seemed like pretty fun races. So I'm actually looking forward to getting involved. I won't be at Pegasus, but I'll probably be paying attention and playing the races.
There we go. Without further ado, we'll get on into the races. We'll start with race number 9, the William L. McKnight. We're going 1.5 miles on the turf course. I'll throw the picks up on the screen. I saw the race 1-11-8. Jackson with the 11-1-8 with a shout to the 14, and Andy with the 1-3-5. So we'll start with the horse on the rail, limited liability for Shug McGahee. Andy, you and I landed on this horse as our top pick in here.
Yeah, I thought he's just really sort of come around. He's always been a horse that I've kind of liked in these distance races. But I think if you look at his recent form, he's come around. I'm not saying he was better than Integration last time, but there is an argument when you look at the respective trips that they had that I thought he may have run as well. And Integration, obviously a major player in the big race later in the day. So to me, I picked sort of 2 goofy horses. And I decided that of the logicals, I'd rather bet him than Bold Act. It's not that I'm against Bold Act as much as he has an outside post. He's going to be overbet, and I just think he's sort of okay. So I thought I'd take the 1 logical and limited liability for this, and then a couple of price sources we can talk about a little later.
Absolutely. I like that. I like that thinking. I ended up picking Bold Act in second. I think he is likely the most talented horse in the field. That post position going 3 turns. William Buick is certainly going to have his work cut out for him, getting 3 turns and managing to save ground in there. But Jackson, we'll turn to you with the number 11 Bold Act. If you want to take us through, I know this was your top pick in here.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one to beat, and I just thought he ran so big last time. I was there on track, and I bet against him that day, and he didn't break. He broke from post 11, and then kind of rushed up, and they went really fast that day. He was kind of mid pack. He was pretty far up ahead of Highlight Robber, who was the eventual winner, and he's kind of wide on both turns. They get to the final turn, he was like 5 wide the entire final turn, and top of the stretch, I thought he was toast. I thought Highlight Robber was going to run right on by, and I just kind of love the way he fought back all the way to the wire. I thought that was a huge performance. Problem with him is he drew post 11 again, and he's never really been the most consistent type. He's kind of thrown in a few clunkers here and there, so it's tough. It's going to all depend on the price. If he's 3-2, I don't want any part of him. If he somehow drifts up, if the post scares some people off, and he's 3-1, then yeah, I'd be on board with that.
Does it bother you at all? And I'm just wondering, does it bother you at all these kind of running frequently since the summer? He missed a lot of races he theoretically could have run in. I mean, I don't know if that matters or not. I'm just wondering.
It does a little bit, because it's not like there's any crazy good horses going 1.5 miles right now. You think he could find some good spots where he could make some good money, but it's more the inconsistency. He's been beaten at a short price a few times, and it's tough to know what you're going to get from him. But if he does show up with his best race, he's obviously very live in here.
Certainly. The one thing that led me to not picking this horse on top was, it's pretty rare to see a Appleby Godolphin horse ship over and not be the favorite. And he wasn't the favorite in either of the last 2 races, and he ran like it. He didn't win either of those, given he was close last time out. But I'm going to be against him again in here. I'm going with the number 1 limited liability as well. Jackson, that was also your second pick. Did you have anything to add on that one?
No, I just thought his last race was really good. He completely blew the break, and then he kind of rushed up. But he's another horse that's very logical in this spot.
Definitely. Andy, an interesting. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, any love for my idiotic long shots, the 3 or 5?
We're gonna touch on those right now with number 3, Captain Peak. I love the trainer, obviously going these 1.5-mile distances. He's the specialist of specialists. What ended up leading you to this one?
Well, you mentioned the fast pace in Boldak's last race, and I'm a sucker for horses that are setting fast paces that collapse. And I think 2 straight races, even the Turf Cup at Kentucky Downs, he was right there on pretty quick paces. And I don't think his races were great, but I don't think they were that bad. And I thought as a horse that's going to be in front in this race and funny things happen down there, I thought it was a much more favorable pace scenario for him. So he's a horse I wanted to include. And I think Anglophile is a little interesting as well at an opposite angle. He gets a good rider, switch to Javier. And, the pace was so slow 2 back where I thought he ran pretty respectively behind the talented Highway Robber. And then last time out, he was out in the middle of the racetrack for most of the race, probably a little better off inside in that race. And I just thought he's a horse that's run well enough. There's so many horses in here that I don't want, and I have no argument that the 1 and 11 are the main 2 horses in here. I thought horses like the 3, 5, and maybe even the 8 Yamato might be price horses to try to get in there somewhere because the favorites are pretty logical.
Yeah, the favorites are logical, but I think there could be the possibility of an upset. Jackson, you and I ended up on the same third choice in here, the number 8 Yamato. I'll let you take this one away. Another Mike Maker trainee.
Yeah, Maker claimed him way back early last year, and he immediately stretched him out to 1.5 miles. And we see him do this all the time, and he's good at it. He identifies these horses, and they run well at this distance, and he did. In the Louisville Stakes, he ran pretty good. He was right behind Limited Liability, and then the United Nations, he had a little bit of trouble. He just didn't really run great that day. He was never going to be the top 3, I didn't think. And then the Japan Turf Cup, he won that race pretty easily. And now he hasn't run a marathon turf race since. That was 18 months ago. I think that's a little strange. But the race 2 back was really good. He was right on top of a slow pace, ran away with it. I don't know what happened last time. He didn't show any speed. But if he can get back to that kind of forward position where he's in a good spot, just gallops along out there, he can make some noise in the spot at a price.
He definitely can. That was pretty much my logic as well. They tried to get him into the 1.5-mile Japan Turf Cup to run it right back off the year layoff at Laurel, but that came off the turf that day. So just kind of 2 nice synthetic races coming in, but I think the 1.5 miles is definitely his distance. 3 for 7. So a bit of a specialist going this long distance. And you mentioned it. Yeah, Maker claiming this horse and then stretching him out to 1.5 miles. He had this kind of goal all along. So that's race number 9. 111 are the top 2 choices with the 1 Limited Liability and the 11 Bold Act. And then I saw the race 111-8, Jackson 11-1-8, Andy 135. Jackson, I told you I'll give you a chance to talk about the number 14 Lorenz. So go ahead and give us your 2 cents real quick.
That's not the 14. It's Capture the Flag. I'll take 15 seconds on Capture the Flag. I don't know where he is.
There we go.
It's just a horse. I feel like he's one of those where he's kind of that grindy type. He's not a really fast accelerator, but he strikes me as a horse that's going to appreciate more ground. I don't think he's drawing into this race, so it's not going to matter. But maybe look for him next time. I thought last time he ran fine. He was ridiculously wide on the final turn. I mean, he was closer to the outer rail than the inner rail, so don't want to hold that one against him too much. But I don't think he's drawing in.
There we go. That is race number 9. Race number 10, we get into the main Pegasus races here. We're going the Pegasus Filly and Mare Turf. I will throw our picks up on the screen. Race number 10, I saw the race 8-1-3, Jackson 1-12-2, and Andy 7-3-1. So we'll start with the 7. That is Manushka for, I believe, Brendan Walsh. This is your top pick in here, Andy.
Yeah, this race, I literally had this race open to the 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11. So I managed to pitch 4 of the 12 horses, and the winner could be in there. So it's hard. I think my problem with the 1, like Rakaya, is that she set a slow pace last time, but maybe she does it again. But I'm wondering if she's a little dressed up. My problem with Sacred Wish is she had an absolutely perfect trip to win, albeit a better race, and she's pretty good, but she's never really overcome any adversity and has an outside post. So I thought, you know what? None of those horses have to win. Sacred Wish will probably be short off the grade 1 win. So where else am I going to go? And there are a lot of options in there, like Papilio, I know one of you has. And I was looking at Manushka, and I know she sort of beat nobody first time out, but she did run sort of a pretty impressive race. And then I actually think her last race was really good. There was absolutely no pace in there. The speeds ran 1-2 around the racetrack, one of whom was Pounce in here. And Pounce was able to just sort of sit off of the heavy favorite who set the pace for Wesley Ward. And you can see how Pounce sort of overran her odds, almost 35-1. And I thought of all the horses, Manushka was the one horse who did a lot of running. And whether or not I think she's good enough to beat these, well, how good are these horses really? From a speed figure standpoint, they're all close enough that I thought a horse that I don't know if she's going to get the pace to run at, but sometimes these races get a little more contentious than you'd expect them to be. So while I respect the one in this race, and I think she's very dangerous, I thought Manushka might be the right price just to take somebody. I don't love her chances, but I had to take a horse a bit of a price in what is just a wide open race.
It is an absolutely wide open race, and the morning line does reflect that as the number one. I know it's not on the form here, but the number one is your morning line favorite at a nice 4-1. So an excellent betting race. Jackson, I'll let you share your point on the one, a horse we all have somewhere in our top three.
And just real quick on Manushka, I had her on my top three for a long time. The more I look at this race, I had a tough time seeing enough pace developing for her. I just don't see a true speed horse in here. So I thought Rakia looked pretty solid in here. I know she's the morning line favorite.
Let me say one thing. Shouldn't Ocean Club go from the outside? Doesn't she kind of have to go a little bit? That's just the one thought.
Yeah, she does. And probably the 12 horse as well. But even then, I still don't know how they're going to go for, but I don't think they're going to fly. And Manushka is probably coming from last, I would think. But anyway, I just thought she ran really well last time. She showed a lot more speed than I was expecting. She's kind of come from off the pace overseas, and she shot out of there. And, you guys mentioned it. She did get a very easy lead. But it's not like they were gaining on her. Go watch the replay. No one is making up any kind of ground in the stretch on her. She's maintaining that lead, and she kicked away from that spot. And now she shows up in a race again where I don't see a ton of speed. Even if she doesn't make the front, she's going to sit that pocket trip that we see work time and time again at Gulfstream. We know she's got a nice finish, and I just think she's going to a horse that's going to trip out in this spot. And she's still a lightly raced 4-year-old. She could theoretically jump forward again in here.
It's not like her certainly could. Bad, right? It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was solid.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of what led to me having this horse in second. There is a common race in here with a bunch of these. Papilio, Ocean Club, Be Your Best, and Sacred Wish all come out of the same race. I believe Swanee River is the full name of the race. I ended up with Papilio as my top choice. This runner ran into a bit of a wall at the top of the stretch, or coming into the top of the stretch last time out. Powered home once she found the room to do so. So I want to take this horse right back. Obviously, the one is a big threat. If Dettori wants the lead, he can get it, and it doesn't look like there's a ton of other, mandatory early speed. There's a couple others that could send, but I think if Dettori wants to get clear on the lead from the one post, he can do so if the horse gets a clean break. So I'm hoping Papilio just, fires right back, second off the brief layoff, if you want to call it that. So I'm hoping for a bit of a step up. And again, just ran into a wall and just closed like a train last time and galloped out with the winner, who sat a perfect trip, as you mentioned, Andy. So this is the one I want back out of that common race, and I ended up with this one on top.
I thought it was sort of interesting, right? She was following Ocean Club, and she still managed to outfinish her while having some legitimate trouble behind her. I don't disagree. I think the other horse in that race who had a bit of a trip, but once again, lack of speed, whatever, at the post, bless my stars. I mean, for a horse that hadn't run in a long time, broke a length and a half slow, I actually thought she ran really well in there as well. I mean, maybe they were all just sort of picking up pieces at the end, but I think she's kind of interesting too in the same vein, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. I ran, broke about a length slower, so went and saved ground the entire way around, and came flying late, was just, I think, a little too wide. Had to tip out, got a clear run, but just had too much work to do when they turned for home, and I think excuse me. And I think in this race, we might run into the same situation, drawn wide again, might either not be able to save the ground or might just have too much room or too much ground to make up as they turn with not a lot of strong pace in here. Andy, we'll talk real quick about the number 3 horse, Be Your Best, who you and I both have. You have this one second, coming out of the same race, the Swanee River.
I told Horacio to pause when Saffie Joseph got this horse, and I love Horacio. And I think that she's a horse, if you start going through her form, is really dirtied up. She's been in a lot of races where the turf course has been the wrong condition, the wrong distance, wrong things. And I thought, man, this is going to make you look bad. And we both agreed after the Long Island that she would win the Pegasus Filly and Mare World race. So we'll see if that happens. I know she had a good trip last time, but Why can't she just sit second in this race? I mean, if we're going to talk about the pace, and I'm going to use the 1 and 3, the two main speeds, who's to say that she hasn't just really improved? She can be close. She doesn't need the lead. And I don't know, it just feels like she's never going to get bet as heavily as she should. She paid $12 last time. I wouldn't be surprised if she's an overlay, because they're going to go to Rakea. They're going to bet Fluffy Socks, who if she wins, I lose. And they're going to bet Sacred Wish, who can easily win, but I'll prefer to bet against her price. I just thought she might get a little lost as a logical horse.
Yeah, I love that logic in there. Be Your Best listed as 6-1 on the morning line, and I think you may very well get just around that price with horses you mentioned that are definitely going to take money, even though maybe they shouldn't. I think Rakea does take a good amount of money, just obviously being what looks to be the lone speed, and then Fluffy Socks always seems to take money at the windows. That horse is going to be one that could beat me as well. Jackson, we'll turn to you with the number 2, Pounce, a horse that clearly loves it at Gulfstream Park. Go for it.
Yeah, she ran fine last time. It's tough. Any time I talked about it, it was a slow pace, and she kind of just galloped around there and held on for a second. I don't see why she can't do that again in this kind of spot where, again, I don't think there's a whole lot of speed. And I do wonder if she's just a better horse at Gulfstream, because she ran a figure way back in March of last year that's still the best thing she's ever run, or right up next to it. So maybe she's just a horse that loves it down here. She jumps up again, gets a right kind of trip, and can kind of blow up this trifecta at a big price. I don't think she can win, but I kind of want to use her in exotics, because I do think she'll get a pretty good trip in here.
She's a funny horse, right? Because, I mean, her late George was good. She's a little lucky to win that day, but she still ran well. And she seems like she'll run like, I mean, I'm not going to hold the Music City against her, but she seems like she'll run lousy. But maybe you're right about the Gulfstream race, because she did run well that day. It's interesting.
Yeah, she's fired strong and shown tactical ability. She can, kind of sit on the lead, or she can come from out of it. She's very versatile in that sense. And I mean, the post draw certainly helps. Should save some ground. And I mean, at this point in time, Dylan Davis seems to be just giving A+ rides, whether it's in New York, Santa Anita, Del Mar, Gulfstream Park. So he's a fantastic jockey to have. And obviously his success is great to see. That's race number 10, the Pegasus Filly and Mare World Cup.
Can I talk about the 12
yes.
real quick?
Oh, my bad. Yes, of course you can. Sorry.
Another crazy bomber. Most of my money is going to be on the 1 in this spot, but C Around's a horse I found her a little interesting, because she has similar form lines. You see 3 back overseas race. Kathmandu is a horse that also ran in the Goldacova on Breeders' Cup Day, and she was kind of the same price as Rakea. They were kind of coming out of the same race, so she's really like a length behind those two in their overseas form. And she came to New York, didn't run a step, but I thought last time she ran fine. It was a slow pace. Even money horse got loose on the lead, uncontested. I was kind of impressed that she was able to run her down. And she's still, again, another 4-year-old that somewhat lightly raced. It's just a 3rd start in America. She can continue to improve. And from this outside post, she's got to go. I mean, she has no other option in this race. So maybe she's one that can just kind of tuck in, get forward the place, nice soft pace, and kind of hang in there for a slice.
Yeah, I like that pick. Not to mention 3 back overseas, ran 3rd behind Soprano, who came over and was a highly regarded horse. I don't believe that horse ran too well in the Breeders' Cup, but was still in really good form at the time. So another horse that kind of flatters the form of this one.
She ran second in the QE2, right behind the Chiriska horse.
Yeah,
she was, yes,
yeah. Well beaten second, but she was second.
No
well beaten second. Yeah, she feels pretty certainly a bit of a monster, but
like
that is. Sorry,
I said I'd like her in this spot.
Yeah, I would like her quite a bit.
That is race number 10, the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf. We'll move on to the inside information. 7 furlong dirt race here. I'll throw our picks up on the screen as I wait for DRF to load, and it's going to be a little bit finicky. I saw the race 9-7-2, Jackson 2-3-9, and Andy 3-2-9. So, of course, I do want to start with the number 3, one of 2 Bill Mott trainees in here. Once again, grade 2 inside information. We'll go to the number 3. That's Sterling Silver, a horse, Andy, I'm sure you're very familiar with up in New York.
Yeah, this is the horse I had made a reference on Twitter that I was looking for a sort of interesting horse I have to bet last time. And I have a feeling Jackson knows exactly why I like this horse. But first of all, this is a horse that's run races that can be competitive here. And I feel like with Nick Style in here and Emery and Mystic Lake, the pace is going to be honest in here, which she needs. But most importantly, she got caught in the wackiest of races last time on the biggest gold rail we've had in New York in years. And she was caught 4 wide and 3 wide early, kind of moved in a little little 2 to 3 path around the turn before angling wide, while Stonewall Star was saying this ridiculous slow pace on the inside, getting everything possible her own way. And I thought she ran remarkably well considering the pace scenario, her running style, and the bias. And it seems like with Bill, she's not quite as slow as she's been in the past. And I just feel like she's an improved horse, and I have to bet her off that bias trip. Whether or not she's ultimately good enough, we'll see. But I'm going to take my chances she is.
Yeah, love the point you brought up there. Jackson and I were watching that day as we had a pick 5 going, and we were dumbfounded, to say the least, at watching those horses off the quarter pole just spurt ahead by 4 on the rail and just run away with it. Jackson, anything to add on the number 3 Sterling Silver, your second choice in here?
No, it's all the same thing. It was that day. She never got to the rail. She wasn't like ridiculously wide, but she definitely never got to the rail. So what an upgrade that performance for sure. And she could get a setup in here. I don't know how fast they're going to go, but there's a chance that the 3 logicals just kind of hook up. And she has the best kick in this race by far. So she's going to be on my tickets.
Well, you might have the best speed. I mean, I agree with you on Nick Style if you're going to take all horses forward.
Yeah.
I thought she'd be the best price of them, and she might be the best of them.
Right.
Yeah, we'll pivot right over to Nick Style, just to the inside. Jackson, this is your top pick, and a horse that we all have somewhere in our top 3.
Yeah, I think Kaylee's going to be proud of me. I have the Bill Mott horse as 1-2. She'll be very happy with that. Interesting horse in here. She's a speed horse that has run pretty well. And I like what I saw last time. I know she showed a new dimension coming off the pace. I don't know what she beat that day, but it's worth noting that Art Disaster came back, jumped up 12 points in victory. Dream Concert came back, and I believe got second, but another one that jumped up, I believe, is 9 points. So that race is probably a little bit faster than the buyer would indicate. And she's drawn inside with Bill Mott having to. This is probably the one that's going to make the lead. And it's not like Mystic Lake and Emery are needly types. So maybe this one just breaks better than those two and is just kind of left alone. I do agree with Andy. I think this one might be a little bit better of a price than those horses, just based on that slower figure we see last time. And again, I have reason to believe that it's better than that would indicate. So speed play here, hoping she gets the lead and just kind of run away from these.
Yeah, we saw that similarly. I think this one, if Alvarado sends with some intention, this one can definitely clear off on the lead. I'll go out to the outside to the number 9, Emery, a horse, Jackson, you and I thought would wind up. Actually, the last time we had Andy on with us for opening day at Santa Anita, we thought this horse might show up in the Grade 1 La Brea, but opted not to ship. So she ends up in this spot. The outside speed angle I like. This horse has shown some versatility, is certainly fast early, but doesn't necessarily need the lead, as you mentioned, Jackson. And I just think from the draw, she's going to benefit from the clean trip, and I'm hoping she can fire fresh off the layoff. Obviously, 7 furlongs is, a tricky distance to get off the bench, but I think, Brad Cox is going to negate that concern for me, if you will. So I ended up with Emery as my top pick, and Jackson, Andy, I know I'll let you guys speak now because I know you guys both have her in your top 3 as well.
Well, she's just the horse to beat, right? She lost in the slop to Just FYI, and she ran second to Ways and Means, and all she does is run well every time she shows up. I don't see any argument against her being sort of the horse to beat.
Jackson?
Yeah, with the draw too, she's just supposed to get a good trip in here, no matter what happens with the pace. She's just going to be on the outside. She'll have very little trouble from that outside spot. I don't know how good the Raven Run field was, but she did it the right way, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking into the narrative too much. That why the heck did she skip the La Brea Grade 1 where she would have been 6-5? And it's not like she missed any time on the work tab, but she's by far the horse to be in this spot.
Maybe there was no room in Mystic Dan's van, so. I'm curious why, like me, you're against Mystic Lake. I'm not wildly against her, but I have a concern about her. I'm curious what you think.
For me, I think there's the 3 main speeds are Nick Style, Mystic Lake, and Emery. And I think with her being in between, she's kind of damned if she goes and damned if she doesn't. If she goes with the 2, it sets up for Emery. If she sits back, then Nick Style kind of just gets that easy lead. And I just had a tough time envisioning a trip where she gets the go of it, unless something weird happens.
I wonder if she's a little better shorter too. I know she got the big fig at Charlestown, but what happens at Charlestown means nothing to me. Right. Figs are always higher. And, you look at the mile 16th race in the Cotillion, I don't really think she ran that well. It was a track that was favoring the inside and speed was good. So I wonder if at 7 furlongs, loses a little bit of her edge. That bothered me a little. I think your points about her being in between the speeds are very well taken.
Yeah, it's definitely a fair point. I ended up with Mystic Lake in second. I think maybe Irad just has this one in a nice spot. I agree that if Emery is also up on the lead, this kind of puts Mystic Lake in a no-win position. But, if Emery maybe is just off the speed and Mystic Lake is kind of sitting off the hip of Nick's style, I'm hoping maybe a Mystic Lake can, maybe surprise Emery and chick away a little bit, hoping to see those confident IRAD shoulder taps at the top of the stretch. But, certainly a horse where I don't know that you're going to get a huge price on this one, but I'm going to take this one in second. With Nick Style in third, but Emery my top choice. It wasn't too creative in this leg of the pick 5 sequence. That is race number 11. One more time, that's the Inside Information Stakes. I saw it's 972, Jackson 239, and Andy 329. We'll go on now to race number 12, the Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup Turf. I'll throw the picks up on the screen. We are going a mile and an eighth, 4-year-olds and upward. Picks are up. I saw the race 463, Jackson 826, and Andy 583. We'll go to the number 5. That's Integration, trained by Shug McGahee. Andy, you gave a shout to this one a little bit earlier on in the card. Speaking about limited liability, referred to this horse. This was your top pick in here.
Yeah, I'm curious more to hear where you guys are, because you're a little bit off the beaten path with your picks, which I respect. But to me, there's 3 horses, and the winner's fairly likely to come from Mi Hermano Ramon, who's in great form, Integration, Nation's Pride. I don't like the Nation's Pride went to Bahrain in November and ran like crap, and I just worries me a little coming back. I've never loved him as a racehorse. He obviously ran a good race in Colonial, so I don't want to completely be dismissive of him. And his other races are just fine. But I always felt like Integration might be the best of all of these horses. And this is sort of his day to either show up and run that race or not. And I'm kind of hoping he's finally in good form for Shug and he'll get it done. He didn't get the best of trips in this last year. So I decided to put him on top of the logical horses and stick with at least a logical type on top. That's all.
Yeah, I certainly respect the pick with Integration. That's your morning line. Second choice at 3-1 is the number 7 Nation's Pride, who none of us have in our top 3. And I'll mention quickly before shooting it out to you, Jackson, to talk about the 8 as well as you, Andy. Charlie Appleby, when he ships a horse over for a Grade 1 race on turf, is a nice 11 for 22, looking at 50%, which is just an insane stat to see. But I'm in agreement with, I think, Jackson, you too, and certainly Andy, that I didn't like the setup for this. I think it's too short, first of all, and then the race in Bahrain, it just looks like that horse. He just didn't really run a step in there, so I'm going to be against that horse in here.
Yeah, just real quick,
we'll go to you.
Touch on Integration. Why I don't have it in my top 3. Part of it is because I needed him very badly last year, and I was just disappointed in the way he ran. I thought he was the next superstar, and he didn't have the greatest trips, but I thought he was still supposed to run better than he did. And then he came back and still didn't run that great in the Turf Classic. And, he finally figured it out once he got back to Colonial and once he started going further than this. I'm a little concerned. Mile 8 is maybe a little too sharp. But I just thought this was a pretty deep race. And it's not like he has some massive figure edge on these horses either.
Yeah, Jackson, the reason – sorry, go ahead, Andy.
Go ahead. I thought they were the better horses, but I may be wrong here.
Yeah, last year in the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational, obviously Warm Heart just got a ridiculously good ride by Ryan Moore that day. So I won't necessarily hold it against Integration. But Jackson, I was kind of in agreement with you. I think this horse might want a little bit longer. 1.25 miles, that race at Santa Anita. I know, he's a boy, but maybe 1.25 miles might fit this horse.
Really?
Fit this horse a little better. Maybe, yeah. About 1.25 miles.
I'm not convinced that he's not better a little shorter. I think he just ran some opportunistic spots. I mean, his race in the Hill Prince was ridiculously good. Virginia Derby, he was a little lucky to be program training, but he beat program training his second start. So, of course, it's pretty good short. I think his biggest problem is he's a bit of a lame-o. And I think keeping him on the track has been kind of difficult over the time. That's why he started his career so late.
That's another very, very fair point you bring up. I guess we'll see on Saturday if he shows up, or maybe, if they are going to need to rethink their plans. A horse that I am really interested that showed up, and clearly you guys have a little bit more interest as you guys picked him in your top 3, is the number 8 Spirit of St. Louis. Jackson, I'll go ahead and let you take the lead on this one, as this is your top pick in this race.
Yeah, look, this is absolutely a major class test for this horse. He's been mostly facing state breds and, beating up on him. He's 12 for 13 in the exacta. He shows up every time. And the one time he ventured out was in the turf mile over at Keeneland, and I thought he ran pretty well in that spot. He got forward into the turn, got completely knocked sideways, went wide. He was 3 wide first turn, 3 wide second turn, and fought on all the way to the end. So it was better than luck performance. Also, not to mention that was behind Carl Spackler and More Than Looks, who would be 1 to 5 in this spot. I mean, those horses are just better than what he's facing here. And I don't know. I wanted to give him one more chance. He's a massive price. He got the job done again last time, and he just feels like a horse that's going to get a good trip in this spot.
Yeah, certainly 20 to 1 on the morning line. Go ahead, Andy.
He's not going to be 20 to 1. I mean, the only way he's going to be 20 to 1 is if there's I guess they could just the 5 and 7 could just dominate the betting, and it is a big field, but why wouldn't he sort of be the fourth choice? Who's going to be the fourth choice behind Mi Hermano Ramon, the 3, 5, and 7? Isn't he supposed to be the fourth choice? You mentioned his record, who he ran against. I'm with you. Chad Brown likes him too. I'm not saying he loves his chances, but he thinks he's very live here. I don't know. Why isn't he the clear-cut fourth likeliest winner at worst here? Who's more likely to win of the remaining horses besides the 3 logicals?
I'm not sure. I'm with you. He's not going to be 20 to 1 come post time. No shot. Maybe half of that.
1, yeah, which still isn't a bad price.
Still not a bad price at all for a horse that, has, as Jackson said, been beating up on state breds, and then we'll come into this spot. My second choice in here was the number 6 Major Dude, who is listed as I believe your fourth choice, actually third choice, 6 to 1, and I think his price might drift up a little bit. I just like how he returned off the brief freshening out of that allowance race at Keeneland. He ran in the Fort Lauderdale in the grade 2. Got up by a neck. It was a good ride by IRAD that day. So I want to see if he, can improve again off the bench. That was a career best buyer at age 5. So maybe, another step up from there. That kind of puts him right in the mix. And I'm with you. I'm hoping this, the 5 and the 7 kind of dominate the betting, especially that Appleby horse. And, this horse just kind of seems right for, one of those middle-priced horses to get the job done. So I'm hoping, Major Dude fires a big shot this Saturday. Jackson, you also had this.
What about Win for the Money? You didn't tell us. I don't think you told us why you liked him.
Did you? Oh, yeah, Win for the Money. We'll go down there. I have not.
He's too excited.
I've not gotten it.
Too excited.
I know. I went straight to the second choice. Yeah, Win for the Money. Win for the Money. Also off of that Fort Lauderdale race, and actually finished behind Major Dude and Fort Washington in there. Yeah, this horse is just an interesting one for me. I think this horse is going to sit a nice trip. I know only faced 8 of the rivals that day. This time gets in against a field of 12 with 2 AEs, so probably going to be a full field here. I really like that race. I thought he's had a decent trip. I know he was probably supposed to win. He was the favorite that day. He just didn't quite get the job done. I'm just going to take him right back. He's going to be a nice price. They have him at 12 to 1 on the morning line. So I'm hoping maybe that last time he just didn't fire his absolute A effort, but he has a couple 102 buyers to get back to. And I think if he does reach into his bag of tricks and fire that absolute A race, I'm hoping that that's going to be good enough to win, because I think a 102 definitely puts him close, and I think he'll get a nice price. And Dylan Davis, again, big fan of him. I know he's going to, give a great ride to a horse, and he's been finishing excellent. So I'll take this one at hopefully a nice price.
He's a weird one. He does pop up every now and then, but I thought he was supposed to win. I thought he was supposed to win that last race with the trip he got, but the pace did kind of come apart a little bit. So maybe
the horse that got screwed is Fort Washington, because first of all, he run the best race in there, and I guess it must be a money one thing for conditions, because I think he belongs in this race. He has a great stakes win this year over Siege of Boston and Chasing the Crown. And so then he gets doubly screwed. He probably won't get in. And if he does, he's got a terrible post. Whereas if he was in by the race instead of one of those two, he might have drawn an inside post. And I think he's the interesting horse out of that race. But now he's doomed by his posts, right?
I definitely
no chance.
Don't like
Andy, I have a question.
Oh. Okay, go ahead.
I have a question regarding AEs. What are your thoughts? I've kind of seen this float around Twitter a few times. What are your thoughts on, if an AE draws in, they kind of draw into the post position of the scratched horse?
Oh, no, I don't like that. I never thought of that. But I prefer what some tracks were doing, and we did it for a little while, of allowing MTOs at least to, draw the race where they could be the 2 horse or the 3 horse. I don't know. With the AE, should they get it? Are they screwed by the draw? Well, no. Here's the reason that idea is flawed. Okay, they got 13. just like 12 got 12 and 11 got 11. So now the 2-horse scratches, and because that's the horse that scratched, they managed to get inside of the horse that drew. So I don't think that's fair. I get the reasoning, but no, my problem in this race is I don't understand why he was AE'd. It's not random that he was AE'd, right? Most of the time it's random. I'm assuming it was like most money won last year or something, or because he won a graded stake. So I'm wondering, if he belongs in the race more. So I don't see him as a random AE. I'm just assuming it's not random, and he got, selected after Siege of Boston and the 12. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that must have been the case because I'm in agreement. Thanks for your answer. I was really just curious what your general thoughts were on that, as I've seen that kind of float around Twitter.
I don't think that's fair. I think it's unfair to other horses. So
yeah, I don't know what it was because the 14 has plenty of earnings from last year. Peros, he's earned like $350 last year. It's way more than a couple of horses in this field. So I don't know.
Would love to see him win a $1 million race. He would not be the first claimer to win this race. I think in 2014, that horse that guy is banned now, trained. It's not Navarro. I don't think he's in jail. I'm talking about. I think he had a problem in Maryland or something, or he was in Maryland. Anyway, he was a horse they claimed from the Sheik, and he won a grade 1. He won this race the same day that Lee won the Don. If you look it up, you'll see. He was huge price. 2014. When you see the trainer. Why does nobody like Hermano Ramon here?
I have that horse, I believe, in third. Mi Hermano Ramon shipping in from the West Coast out in our land out here. Yeah, I certainly like this one. Came back off the bench from all over a year layoff and has improved in all 4 races. Fired a great shot, only finishing second last time out in the San Gabriel behind Johannes, who obviously this was the spot they hoped for him, but he's sidelined due to an injury. So off that last effort, why not Mi Hermano Ramon? He's been getting better every start. I think they have him at 8-1 on the morning line. You might get around that. Maybe his price floats up a little bit. I'm really not sure how they're going to bet this one coming in, but should sit a great trip. And Luis Saez, Jackson, as you always tell me, yeah, top of the stretch. If he's on the lead, he's tough to get past.
Yeah,
Andy, you also like this horse. Yeah.
No, I just thought he's in good form. I mean, I don't love him. I don't know is he the third choice at 8-1?
Fourth choice behind Major Dude.
I mean, again, if Johannes was in this race, what would Johannes be? And he was half a length behind him.
And redistricting, if they had run, would be one of the favorites as well.
Yeah.
And he was sort of fortunate to beat him, but he still beat him. I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah. Redistricting.
You think Formidable Man is the improving horse?
No, I was reading that they were never. This was not the goal. He ran the last race, and they were going to target something in the spring. And then as soon as Johannes scratched last week, they pivoted last second. Okay, we're just going to ship out there. And to me, that's just I get it, but it's not something I wouldn't want to see. Okay. Also, Andy, to answer your question, I believe it was Lochte.
Lochte.
$80 for.
Was he claimed away from? I think he was claimed away from Godolphin. I think. Who trained him? Who's the guy who trained Lochte?
Shepard.
No, Lochte was Shepard. No.
Let me see. Well, he ended with Shepard. Let me pull up that race. It was Vitali, Marcus.
There we go.
Vitali. Yeah.
Correct.
Found it. The internet's so great. You can find anything.
The internet's fantastic. You don't need to rack your memory. Just a quick Google search. Jackson, Formidable Man, a horse that you are picking, in your top 3 here. Go ahead and sell us on.
Just an up-and-comer, and I love the versatility that he has. He can win from just off the pace. He can win way out of it. He can run on to a slow pace. He can run into a hot pace. He's drawn really well inside. It's obviously usually a concern with these West Coast horses coming east, but the Gulfstream, I don't think it's that big of a deal. The tracks they're pretty similar, and he's still improving. He's improved pretty much every single time he's ever run. He's going to have to get faster. It's no doubt about that. But I just think he's a horse that is going to get a good trip regardless. And McCarthy ships out the Gulfstream very well. You think of City of Light winning the Pegasus. CC came out here a few times, so this is a move he's very familiar with. He's going to be a big price in here. He'll be on my tickets for sure.
He could be in front if they want to be aggressive.
Yeah,
Timeform has him close enough, and if nobody really wants to go, he's the most inside. He could be a sneaky speed.
Would have no problem with that.
He could be a sneaky speed, could sit the nice pocket trip right behind any speed if somebody's aggressive. They kind of have options from the two post, and I like that. Umberto's probably going to give a great ride as he typically does, and second off that bench again, he might be looking for a step forward now in his 4-year-old year. So really deep and competitive racing here. We're all against the number 7 Bold Act. Or no, Nation's Pride. Bold Act was the other Appleby horse.
Probably a cinch.
Probably. We probably just picked him into the winner's circle.
Right.
That's race number 12, the Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup. And now we'll get over to race number 13, which is, of course, the Pegasus World Cup Invitational, Grade 1 as well. Your favorite is going to be the number 11, kind of marooned to the outside. That is Locked. Picks are up on the screen. I had the race 6-11-2, Jackson 2-11-1, and Andy 2-6-11. So I guess we'll start to the inside with the number 2 Saudi Crown off the tenacious listed stakes win down at Fairgrounds. Bounced back nicely after a poor Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Andy and Jackson, this is your top pick. Andy, why don't you take us away?
Well, Jackson, why don't you start with it?
All right.
Yeah, he is, on paper, he's supposed to be 3 lengths clear of this field, right? And not only that, I'm going through this field, and it just feels like there's a lot of filler in this race. I don't know who's actually that good besides Locked. I mean, you have Skippy Longstocking, who's never been that good when he gets to the legit horses. Mystic Dan, I don't know what the heck you're supposed to do with him. He was so bad last time. Wider Barrio has not been the same since going back to the Saffy Joseph barn. And, where else are you supposed to go in here? I'm going to go with this best of the speed. It's Brad Cox. He's drawn well on the inside. He's drawn well, probably his only main pace rival early on. I think that's a big deal. And he finally looked decent last time. I don't know how good if he's ever going to find that Saudi Cup form again. Maybe this is a controversial take, but I thought that Saudi Cup performance last year he had was probably the best performance from any American horse last year.
Totally.
I thought he ran huge. He was fast paced. He outdueled National Treasure, who was in the midst of Met Mile and Pegasus win. Senor Buscor came from 20 lengths out of it, and he ran huge. Are we ever going to see that horse again? I don't know, maybe not, but I don't know if he needs that performance to beat this field because he's so loose. So is he going to be 9-2? Absolutely not. He's going to be maybe 2-1, 5-2. That's the big concern. But
I agree.
I really think this is a 2-horse race, and with Locked being that far out there in the post and probably not going to get a great setup, I'd go to Saudi Crown.
I think you and I have the exact same opinion in this race. That we like him for the same reasons. I mean, I feel the same way as the field. I stuck Stronghold in the middle, just to have somebody else. I agree. I hate the post for Locked. I think he's good. But, I mean, it's maybe Skippy Longstocking, but he's got to be used for position where Saudi Crown just falls into that position. And, man, I think there's a lot of phonies. I don't want White Apario at all. It's been a long time since he's run well without Lasix for Saffy Joseph. I just think he's just way past his prime. So I'm with you. I agree. I like – I mean, Saudi Crown, I think the problem you and I both have with him, I sense you, is I don't totally trust him. I agree everything you said about Saudi race and everything, but I just can't avoid not picking him because of the logicals. I think he's the right one, and he's not going to be an overwhelming favorite.
Yeah, he's not going to be, anything under probably 2-1 if I had to guess. But I agree. I don't think we're going to get 9-2, which is what he's listed on the morning line. I guess it's worth noting. I mean, I know track biases don't carry over year to year, but 3 of the last 4 runnings with National Treasure, Knicks Go, Life is Good. I don't think that they even looked another rival in their eye pretty much the entire race. They kind of went to the lead and took them the rest of the way around. So yeah, Saudi Crown. Certainly going to send from in there. A horse that was too inconsistent for me to pick on top, but I have enough respect that I'm going to pick this one in third. And Andy, we share the same view that I think White Barrio is just kind of over the hill. And Jackson, I assume you're in the same boat with the fact that none of us have him in our top 3. I ended up with Stronghold as my top pick. I love this horse off the last effort in the Malibu. Was second behind Raging Torrent, who was really well meant that day off the Breeders' Cup Sprint effort where he just had no shot from the rail. Stronghold ran great off the layoffs since September. Phil D'Amato shipped a good string of horses. I think he's got 4 runners on the weekend out at for Pegasus World Cup Day, at least in these 5 races. Stronghold going to get around 2 turns. I don't know that he loves the 1 1/8 distance. But I know he has enough speed to maybe be close early. And if Saudi Crown doesn't fire his best effort, maybe he's going to kind of get the first jump. Obviously, Locked is probably going to be pretty wide. at least into that first turn. He's going to have to kind of get some position for being out there. I love Locked, especially off the Cigar Mile win, but I'm taking Stronghold on top in this spot. A race that I think we're all in agreement. A lot of phonies in here. Maybe 4 horses have a shot to win. That might even be stretching it. Andy, you also like Stronghold a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you said. I thought he ran really well last time, and he showed that maybe he's really taken a step forward. He always had some ability, and maybe he's taking a step forward. Now, I think he may have improved a little because of the turn back, so that concerns me a little bit as far as picking him on top. But I think if you're making arguments for horses, he's a horse that can have some upside. Who else in here really is good enough and has upside? I mean, White Abario has no upside. Skippy Longstocking has no upside. I know you guys all really like Power Squeeze, but aside from her, who
we'll talk about a horse.
A lot of filler here.
There is a lot of filler, but to talk about a horse with some upside, this is the lightly raced 4-year-old in your morning line favorite at 5-2. That's number 11, Locked. Jackson, why don't you lead us on with this one?
I mean, he's done absolutely nothing wrong in his career, and I got to think this has kind of been the target all along since coming back. They wanted to get to this race, and he's got marooned on post 11. I think that might prove to be the difference, along with there not being a huge setup for him. So he's really good. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does in this race and for the rest of 2025. But I think, if we're comparing him to Saudi Crown at the same price, I would want Saudi Crown.
Yeah, I agree. Andy, was the post position the kind of nail in the coffin for not being able to pick this horse on top? Or
race dynamics in the post position, I think, put him at a bit of a disadvantage. I will say, arguably, he is fine showing more speed. He's not a horse that needs to be that far behind, but with that post, it makes it problematic. I have no argument with anything you said. I think he's obviously a very good horse, and he might prove to be, good enough to really step it up with the big players. And don't forget, this horse a lot of people realistically thought could have been the best 3-year-old last year. He just unfortunately didn't get a chance to show it. So I have no argument. He's a huge player here.
Yeah. Completely agree. Yeah, third off the bench, has shown more speed, so I like to see that. It was just the post position. I can't pick this horse on top. And as I mentioned with Saudi Crown, a little too inconsistent. Horse to beat, especially if he gets that clean break and goes out to the lead. It's going to be tough for anybody to run with him early and catch him late. But I wanted to take Stronghold again on the upside. Jackson and Andy both ending up on Saudi Crown. I know we spoke about him a little bit, but what are our kind of thoughts on Mystic Dan? Did he just not like the 7 furlong distance? And I'm curious your thoughts. Is this distance too short for him? How do you think he runs in this spot?
I think he has absolutely no chance whatsoever in this race. I think he's destined to have, I don't know what to say. He was to ship a horse 2,000 miles in a van and have him run that badly. And now he's going to come back and run. And maybe there's an argument he likes a little moisture in the track to run his best race. I don't know how you can bet him other than you have, it's almost the same mentality that I think is a very foolish mentality that Ken McPeek deserves the eclipse over Chad Brown, which I don't think is defensible in any manner. I just like him because he won the Derby. I don't see him being competitive here at all.
I'll pivot over to the point that you just made about Kenny McPeek being trainer or not being trainer of the year over a guy like Chad Brown. Last week I was on the HHH Racing podcast and we were doing like kind of a mock eclipse show. I said that Kenny should be the trainer of the year because he's going to train the horse of the year, most likely in Torpedo Anna, train the Derby and the Oaks winner. My argument against it with Chad and Brad Cox, obviously always having sensational years, was comparing it to the NFL where, you can't give coach of the year to Bill Belichick or Andy Reid every year. You kind of got to give it to, the one who kind of stamped their name on the year. So that was kind of my only argument for Kenny McPeek. And Jackson, go ahead.
Okay. Who was your jockey of the year?
Flavian Pratt.
Okay, then how are you going to use the same logic for Flavian Pratt and not have Brian Hernandez Jr. as your jockey of the year?
Because Flavian Pratt broke every record that there was to pretty much break.
Chad had 15 grade 1 wins with 12 different horses, okay? 8 on the dirt, 7 on the turf. He won the Breeders' Cup Classic and lost the Derby by a nose. And I don't want to hear the petty party for Kenny because he ran 70% as many horses as Chad. He won at 14% and Chad won at 24%. And if you want to say, well, he didn't have that many horses. Well, Bob Baffert didn't even start 300. So why isn't he one of your top choices in there as well? It seems to me that every argument for Kenny is it's a popularity. I like Kenny. And listen, Kenny's a lot of fun and people like Kenny, and that's great. And certainly, he made the Travers by running her one of the most memorable races we'll have. So I appreciate that as well. But it's not a popularity contest. It's supposed to be about results. And I don't think his results are even, first of all, I don't think he's a top three. I think Brad and Baffert should have filled out the top three, or maybe Asmussen. I think people are going overboard because he had one very good horse and then one sort of fluky win. Does he get a demerit for putting him in a van and taking him 2,000 miles and getting ease basically in the Malibu? If you're going to use that logic, why does he not get a demerit for doing that?
That's an extremely fair point. It's not
you don't like Chad. I get it, but it's not supposed to be a popularity contest, and I don't even think it's close. That's my problem. Is I don't understand the argument because it's not. I don't think he should be second or maybe even third.
That's an extremely fair point. And the my entire point on Kenny is the comparison to the NFL is that the NFL seems to be a popularity contest. It doesn't seem to be based on really anything else. It's just however they frame the narrative. So for that reason, I was saying Kenny McPeak just because. But to your point, Chad, again, 15 grade ones, 12 different starters, half on dirt, half on turf is sensational. So he certainly does deserve it off of accolades, purse money, graded stakes wins, and everything like that. It was more of just a feel good kind of Kenny McPeak type story.
Right. So give him. He already won the Good Guy Award from the National Turf Writers. I don't know. Whatever.
That's very fair.
I think it's like a Twitter opinion that he deserves Trainer of the Year. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, certainly. So I was just curious. I wanted to get your opinion, and I'm happy you had such a strong one because, Chad should definitely win it.
So Chad's also my friend. So, to be fair, I probably am a little bit biased, but I don't think there's anything I said that wasn't true.
Yeah, correct. Again, I don't disagree. I think Chad is going to get the award. I just would have liked to see McPeak win it because I think what he did, publishing the workouts as well for Torpedo was just nice to kind of with the fan interaction. But maybe it is more of a Twitter award than Eclipse award. But that is the 13th race, the Pegasus World Cup, the grade one. One more time with the picks. I'd have the number 6 Stronghold on top with 11 and 2. Jackson and Andy both with Saudi Crown, and then 11-1 for Jackson, 6-11 for Andy. That was really fun. I like that sequence. It's a bunch of competitive races, and I'm interested to see how this Pegasus World Cup goes. I know on these big days, Jackson, you and I were speaking, it can tend to be a little chalky, but I like that no major superstars showed up in the Pegasus World Cup turf, and I think the Philly and Mare turf also could lend itself to a price.
Yeah, it's good. So, really good betting card. Good sequence. I'm excited to tackle the undercard. I haven't looked at those yet, but they all got full fields and they look pretty competitive at first glance. So it should be a lot of fun.
Agreed. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely, Andy. Always a pleasure. Please, everybody, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, turn the post notifications on. As for me, I got about an hour, and then I'll be over on Pacific Horse Players on the HHH Racing channel for the late pick 5 at Oaklawn, the San Pasquale Stakes. And Andy, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Jackson, I will see you tomorrow for Big Hoof Energy with Kaylee Shapiro, and we'll be going over the Aqueduct late pick 5 because I can't go a week without betting the Saturday late pick 5 at Aqueduct, so I'm happy I get to do a show on it as well. Andy, thank you again. Really appreciate you joining us on short notice. But no tech issues. We got great audio video quality.
And help me fix the mic. Yeah.
Yes, shout out to David Aragona for the tech situation. As Jackson and I were no help last time. We just did not have that one working. All right, thank you again, and everybody, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time.